The stagecoach lurched to a violent stop in front of the weathered general store, throwing Anna Voss forward hard enough that her carpetbag slammed against the seat. And through the dust-caked window, she could see nothing but desolation stretching endlessly under the brutal California sun of 1877. She climbed down on shaking legs, her black morning dress already covered in a fine layer of trail dust, her hands trembling as she gripped the carpetbag that contained everything she owned in this world. Grass Valley sprawled before her like a promise half-kept, wooden buildings lining a single main street, mountains rising in the distance where mining operations had once boomed but now sat quieter, their best days behind them. The air smelled of horse manure, wood smoke, and the peculiar scent of pine carried down from the Sierra Nevada foothills. Anna had traveled nearly 2,000 miles from Charleston, with nothing but the address of a cousin she had never met, a woman who had married a miner and moved west 15 years ago. In her reticule was a single letter, creased and worn from constant reading, promising shelter and family in a place where Anna might start again after losing everything to yellow fever, a disease that had taken her parents and younger brother within a month, leaving her penniless and alone at 22 years old. She walked toward the general store, hoping someone might direct her to the address written in fading ink on the envelope. The afternoon heat pressed down like a physical weight, making her wool dress feel suffocating. Several men lounged outside a saloon across the street, watching her with the kind of interest that made her skin prickle with discomfort. A woman traveling alone was unusual enough to draw attention, and Anna kept her eyes forward, her spine straight despite exhaustion. The store was dim and blessedly cooler inside. A portly man with spectacles looked up from behind the counter, his expression shifting from boredom to surprise. "Help you, miss. I am looking for Margaret Voss." Anna's voice came out steadier than she felt. "She married Thomas Brennan. I have this address." She held out the letter, and the man's face changed in a way that made Anna's stomach drop even before he spoke. "I am sorry to tell you this, miss, but Margaret Brennan passed away last winter. Pneumonia took her quick." He paused, sympathy creasing his weathered features. "Thomas sold his claim and moved back east about 3 months ago, went to live with his brother's family in Pennsylvania." The floor seemed to tilt beneath Anna's feet. She gripped the edge of the counter, her knuckles white. "Are you certain?" "Yes, miss. I am real sorry. Were you kin?" "She was my cousin." The words came out hollow. "I have traveled from South Carolina." The storekeeper winced. "That is a terrible long way to come for such news. You got other family here. Friends?" Anna shook her head mutely. The small purse in her bag contained $17, the last of the money from selling her mother's jewelry. It would not last long, certainly not long enough to pay for passage back east, even if she had anywhere to return to. "There is a boarding house down the street," the man offered kindly. "Mrs. Patterson runs a decent place. Not expensive, and she serves meals." Anna thanked him mechanically and walked back into the punishing sunlight. The boarding house sign creaked in a hot breeze that offered no relief. She had enough money for perhaps 2 weeks of room and board if she was frugal. After that, she would need to find work, though what kind of respectable employment a gently raised woman might find in a rough mining town, she could not imagine. Mrs. Patterson was a stern-faced widow who quoted prices with no-nonsense efficiency, and showed Anna to a small room on the second floor that overlooked the street. The bed was narrow but clean, the washstand chipped but functional. Anna set down her carpetbag and sank onto the thin mattress, finally allowing herself to feel the full weight of her situation. She had come west on faith alone, believing that family would be waiting, that she would find safety and a new beginning. Instead, She had arrived to find herself more alone than ever, stranded in a strange town with almost no money and no prospects. For the first time since her mother's death, Anna allowed herself to cry, great shuddering sobs that left her gasping and hollow. But she had not survived the loss of her entire family, only to surrender now. Anna washed her face in the basin, changed into her only other dress, a plain brown calico that was more practical than the morning black, and went downstairs to ask Mrs. Patterson if she knew of any available work. The older woman looked at her appraisingly. "You got any skills besides sewing and such?" "I can read and write. I kept my father's accounts for his shipping business. I can cook and clean, though I confess I never did heavy labor. Shipping business." Mrs. Patterson's eyebrows rose. "You come from quality, then?" "I came from a good family, yes, but that does not help me now." Anna met her gaze steadily. "I need work, and I am not too proud to do whatever is necessary so long as it is honest." Mrs. Patterson studied her for a long moment. "The schoolteacher left last month to get married. Town has been looking for someone to take over the school, but it does not pay much. Maybe $20 a month and use of the schoolhouse cottage. You would need to handle children from primer through 8th grade, all in one room. $20 a month. It was not much, but it was survival. Who would I speak with about the position? The mayor is also the bank president. Calvin Simmons. His office is next to the bank building." Mrs. Patterson's expression softened slightly. "You seem like a decent girl in a hard spot. I will give you a week's credit on the room if you need it, until you know whether you got the job." The unexpected kindness made Anna's throat tighten. "Thank you. That is very generous." She found the mayor's office easily enough. Calvin Simmons was a heavy-set man with impressive mutton chops, and a gold watch chain stretched across his vest. He looked skeptical when Anna explained her situation, but agreed to test her abilities. He gave her a passage to read aloud, asked her to solve several arithmetic problems, and questioned her about geography and history. Anna answered confidently, grateful for the education her father had insisted upon, unusual as it was for a daughter. "You seem qualified," Simmons admitted. "But you are young and you are a woman alone. This town can be rough. The children are not always well behaved and some of the parents are, shall we say, unrefined. Are you certain you can maintain discipline?" "I am certain I can try," Anna said firmly. "I need this position, Mr. Simmons. I will work harder than anyone else you might find." Perhaps it was desperation in her voice, or perhaps the town simply had no other options, but Simmons nodded. "You can start on Monday. That gives you 3 days to settle in and prepare. The schoolhouse is at the end of Mill Street. The cottage behind it has been empty since Miss Hartley left. It needs cleaning, but it is sound enough." Anna felt dizzy with relief. "Thank you, sir. I will not disappoint you." She walked to the schoolhouse immediately, key in hand, eager to see her new home. The building was small and weathered, with rows of benches facing a slate board. Books were stacked haphazardly on shelves, and the floor was thick with dust. The cottage behind it was even smaller, just 2 rooms, a living space with a pot-bellied stove and a tiny bedroom barely large enough for a bed and washstand. But it was clean and dry, and it was hers. Anna spent the next 2 days scrubbing and organizing. She bought basic supplies with some of her dwindling funds: lamp oil, matches, soap, cornmeal, beans, a few vegetables. Mrs. Patterson gave her some spare linens and a blanket, refusing payment. The other women in town regarded Anna with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion, but they were not openly hostile. On her 3rd evening in Grass Valley, Anna was carrying water from the community well behind the schoolhouse when she heard hoofbeats approaching. She turned to see a rider on a rangy buckskin horse, a man silhouetted against the setting sun. He dismounted in one fluid motion and walked toward her, removing his hat. "Evening, miss. You are the new school teacher." He was tall and lean, with sun-darkened skin and gray eyes that seemed startlingly light in his tanned face. His dark hair needed cutting, and several days' worth of stubble shadowed his jaw. He wore the practical clothes of a working cowboy: worn denim trousers, a faded blue shirt, a leather vest, boots that had seen hard use. A gun belt sat low on his hips, the revolver well maintained. He looked to be in his late 20s, maybe 30 at most. "I am Anna Voss." She set down the water bucket, suddenly aware of how disheveled she must look after 2 days of heavy cleaning. "I start teaching on Monday. Colton Stone." He gestured toward the mountains to the east. "I run cattle on a spread about 5 miles out. Got a nephew who will be in your school. Thought I should come introduce myself, make sure you knew he is a good boy, even if he is a bit wild sometimes." "How old is your nephew?" "Turned 9 last month. His name is Jamie. He lives with me since his folks passed 2 years back." Something shadowed Colton's expression. "My brother and his wife caught cholera. Jamie is all the family I got left." Anna understood loss. She could hear it in his voice. "I will look after him. What level is he at in his studies?" "He can read some and do basic figures. His ma taught him before she passed. But he has not been in school regular. The last teacher did not take to him much. Said he was too rambunctious." Colton's tone suggested what he thought of that assessment. "Boy has energy, sure, but he is not mean-spirited." "Children need patience and understanding," Anna said. "I will do my best with him, Mr. Stone." "Colton." He studied her with those penetrating gray eyes. "You are not from around here." "South Carolina originally. I came to stay with family, but I found that my cousin had passed away, so I am making a new start." She kept her voice matter-of-fact, not wanting pity. "That takes courage." He said it simply as a statement of fact. "This town is not easy for a woman alone." "I am learning that." Anna met his gaze steadily. "But I have nowhere else to go, so I will make it work." Colton nodded slowly, something like respect flickering in his expression. "You need anything out at the schoolhouse, any repairs or such, you send word. I am handy with tools, and I owe the town since they are educating Jamie." "That is kind of you." He settled his hat back on his head. "I will bring Jamie by on Monday morning. He might seem nervous. Be patient with him." After Colton rode away, Anna finished hauling her water, but her mind stayed on the quiet cowboy with the sad eyes. There had been something reassuring about his presence, a steadiness that made her feel slightly less alone in this strange place. She had met plenty of men in Charleston, polished gentlemen who made flowery speeches and paid elaborate compliments. Colton Stone was nothing like them, rough-edged and direct, but there had been genuine kindness in his offer of help. Monday morning arrived too quickly. Anna woke before dawn, her stomach churning with nervousness. She dressed in her brown calico, pinned her chestnut hair into a severe bun, and tried to compose herself. At 8 o'clock, children began arriving in groups and pairs, ranging from tiny 6-year-olds to lanky adolescents of 13 or 14. They eyed her with open curiosity and varying degrees of suspicion. Colton arrived with Jamie just before the bell time. The boy was small for 9, with his uncle's gray eyes and a shock of unruly brown hair. He held tightly to Colton's hand, clearly anxious. Colton crouched down to speak quietly to his nephew, then straightened and met Anna's gaze over the boy's head. She saw the concern there, the fierce protectiveness of a man who had lost too much and was terrified of failing the child in his care. "He will be fine," Anna said softly. "I promise." Colton studied her for a moment, then nodded. "I will be back at 3 to fetch him." "He can walk home with the other children who go east," Anna offered, I am sure some of them pass near your ranch." "I will be back at 3, Colton repeated firmly, and Anna understood that this was not negotiable. He wanted to make sure his nephew was all right, to see for himself that Anna had kept her promise. The first day was chaotic, but not disastrous. Anna quickly identified the troublemakers, the shy ones, the bright students, and those who struggled. Jamie sat quietly in the middle row, watching her with solemn eyes. She called on him once to read a simple passage, and he stumbled through it but managed adequately. When she praised his effort, his whole face lit up with surprised pleasure. At 3 o'clock precisely, Colton appeared in the doorway. Jamie ran to him, chattering excitedly about everything he had learned. Colton listened with complete attention, then looked at Anna over his nephew's head. "How did he do?" "Very well. He is a good student and well-behaved." She was not exaggerating. Jamie had been attentive and eager, if sometimes distracted. Relief softened the hard lines around Colton's mouth. "Good. That is real good." He hesitated, then added, "Thank you, Miss Voss." "Anna," she said impulsively. "You may call me Anna." His eyes crinkled slightly at the corners, not quite a smile, but something close. "Anna, then. Come on, Jamie, got to get back and feed the stock." Over the following weeks, a pattern established itself. Colton brought Jamie each morning and collected him each afternoon, always courteous, always punctual. Sometimes he lingered for a few minutes, asking about Jamie's progress or mentioning repairs that needed doing around the schoolhouse. He fixed a loose step on the porch, replaced a cracked window pane, and oiled the squeaky door hinges, refusing any payment beyond coffee and a slice of whatever simple bread or cake Anna had managed to bake. Anna found herself watching for him, looking forward to those brief conversations more than she wanted to admit. There was something deeply appealing about Colton Stone, a quiet strength and decency that had nothing to do with social polish or charm. He was a man who kept his word, who worked hard, who loved his nephew with fierce devotion. In a town full of rough men and suspicious women, he treated Anna with respect, as though her opinions mattered, as though she was more than just a spinster schoolteacher to be pitied or gossiped about. One afternoon in late October, after the children had been dismissed, Colton arrived late. Jamie had already gone ahead with a group of boys, and Anna was sweeping the schoolhouse steps when she heard hoofbeats. Colton dismounted stiffly, favoring his left side. "You are hurt." Anna set down the broom immediately. "What happened?" "Just a disagreement with a stubborn bull." Colton tried to wave it off, but Anna could see pain tightening his features. "Got thrown into a fence rail. Nothing serious. Let me see." Anna stepped closer, and after a moment's hesitation, Colton pulled up his shirt to reveal an ugly bruise spreading across his ribs, purple and swollen. Anna sucked in a breath. "That needs to be wrapped. You could have cracked ribs. I have had worse." "That does not make it smart to leave it untreated." Anna met his eyes, refusing to back down. "Come inside. I have bandages and liniment." Colton looked like he might argue, then nodded wearily. "All right." Anna led him into the cottage, gesturing for him to sit at the small table. She retrieved her medical supplies, grateful that she had thought to purchase them with her first pay. In Charleston, she had often helped her mother tend to their household staff when they were injured or ill. Her hands were steady as she cleaned the area gently, trying not to hurt him further. "You have done this before," Colton observed, watching her face. "My mother believed women should know practical nursing. She said it was our duty to care for those around us." Anna's voice softened with memory. "She was very kind, very capable. I wish I was half as good as she was." "You came west alone after losing your whole family," Colton said quietly. "That is more than good. That is brave." Anna's hands stilled for a moment. No one had called her brave before. Foolish, perhaps. Desperate, certainly. but not brave. She looked up and found Colton watching her with an expression that made her breath catch, something warm and admiring that sent heat rushing to her cheeks. "I did not have much choice," she managed. "There is always a choice. You could have given up. Plenty would have." His voice was low, intense. "You chose to keep going. That matters." Anna finished wrapping his ribs in careful silence, too aware of the warmth of his skin under her fingers, the way his breathing changed when she touched him. When she stepped back, the small room seemed suddenly smaller, charged with something unspoken. "Thank you." Colton stood slowly, pulling his shirt back down. "I am grateful. You have done so much for me with the repairs." Anna busied herself putting away the supplies, needing something to do with her hands. "I am happy to help, Anna." The way he said her name made her turn. Colton stood by the door, hat in his hands, looking uncertain in a way she had never seen before. "Would you consider coming to Sunday dinner at the ranch? Nothing fancy, just me and Jamie. But I cook a decent roast and Jamie keeps asking why we cannot invite his teacher. He likes you a lot." Just Jamie asking? The boldness of the question surprised Anna herself. Colton's mouth quirked, almost a smile. "No, not just Jamie." Anna's heart hammered against her ribs. This was more than a casual invitation, and they both knew it. A respectable, unmarried woman did not visit a bachelor's home without causing talk. But Anna discovered she did not care about the gossip. She wanted to see where Colton lived, to spend time with him away from the schoolhouse, to explore whatever this growing feeling between them might become. "I would like that," she said. "Sunday after church, I will come fetch you at noon." The full smile that broke across Colton's face transformed him, erasing years of hardship and making him look younger, lighter. "Jamie is going to be thrilled." After he left, Anna sank into her chair, pressing her hands to her flushed cheeks. She had not expected this when she came west, had not imagined that heartbreak might turn to something else, something that made her feel alive and hopeful in a way she had thought lost forever. She barely knew Colton Stone, and yet she felt she knew everything important. That he was honorable and hardworking, that he loved deeply and protected fiercely, that he looked at her like she mattered. Sunday seemed impossibly far away and arrived impossibly fast. Anna dressed in her best remaining outfit, a green calico with a white collar that her mother had made. She pinned her hair more softly than usual, allowing a few curls to escape around her face. When Colton arrived with the buckboard wagon, his eyes widened appreciatively. "You look beautiful." He said it simply, without artifice, and helped her up onto the seat. The ride to his ranch took them east into rolling foothills dotted with oak trees. Cattle grazed on slopes still green from autumn rains. The ranch itself was modest but well kept. A sturdy house built of timber and stone, a barn in good repair, corrals holding several horses. It spoke of hard work and pride, of a man who took care of what was his. Jamie burst out of the house before they even stopped, chattering excitedly about everything he wanted to show Anna. Colton laughed, catching the boy by the shoulder. "Give Miss Voss a chance to breathe, son. She just got here." But Anna was charmed by Jamie's enthusiasm. She let him drag her around the property, showing her the new calf, the chickens, the rope swing Colton had built near the creek. When they finally went inside for dinner, Anna was struck by the warmth of the house. It was clearly a home lived in by males, a bit cluttered and rough around the edges, but clean and comfortable. Photographs lined the mantel, showing a couple who must have been Colton's brother and sister-in-law, capturing them in happier times. Colton's roast was, as promised, quite decent, accompanied by potatoes and carrots and fresh bread that he admitted to buying from Mrs. Patterson. The three of them ate at a scarred wooden table, and Anna felt something unfold in her chest, something warm and sweet, and achingly familiar. This was what she had lost when her family died. The simple comfort of sharing a meal with people who cared about each other, the feeling of belonging somewhere. After dinner, Jamie reluctantly agreed to go do his evening chores, leaving Anna and Colton alone. They stood on the porch watching the sun sink toward the western mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. The air smelled of grass and wood smoke and the faint scent of pine. "This is a beautiful place," Anna said softly. "I can see why you love it. It is home." Colton leaned against the porch rail, studying her profile. "My brother and I built this ranch from nothing. Took us years of hard work, but we made something good. When he died, I thought about selling, going somewhere that did not remind me of him, but this is Jamie's inheritance. I could not take that from him. You are a good man, Colton Stone." Anna turned to face him. "Jamie is lucky to have you. I am the lucky one." Colton's voice was rough with emotion. "That boy saved me when I was drowning in grief, gave me a reason to keep going." He paused, then added quietly, "You understand that, don't you? About finding reasons to keep going." Anna nodded, her throat tight. "Yes, I understand." Colton reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and tucked a loose curl behind her ear. His fingers lingered against her cheek, calloused and gentle. "I am glad you came to Grass Valley, Anna Voss. Even if the reason was sad, I am glad you are here." "So am I," Anna whispered. He kissed her then, soft and sweet, a question more than a demand. Anna's eyes fluttered closed as she leaned into him, her hands coming up to rest against his chest, feeling his heart hammer beneath her palms. The kiss deepened, and Anna felt something inside her unfurl like a flower opening to the sun, hope and desire, and the dizzy realization that she was falling in love with this quiet cowboy who had shown her nothing but kindness. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Colton rested his forehead against hers. "I know this is fast. I know we have not known each other long. But Anna, I need you to know that I care about you. More than I probably should given the short time, but I cannot help it." "I care about you too." Anna's voice shook slightly. "I did not expect this. I came here with nothing, no hope for anything beyond survival. And now you have me," Colton finished. "If you want me. I am not fancy or educated like those men you must have known back east. I am just a cowboy trying to raise a boy and keep a ranch running. But I will be good to you, Anna, I swear it. I do not want fancy." Anna cupped his face in her hands, feeling the stubble rasp against her palms. "I want honest and kind and real. I want this." They stood there as darkness gathered around them, holding each other, and Anna felt pieces of herself that had been broken begin to knit back together. She had arrived in Grass Valley with nothing but faith that somehow, someday, things would be all right again. And Colton was rewarding that faith with his own faithfulness, his steady presence, his promise to be there. Over the following weeks, their courtship deepened. Colton continued bringing Jamie to school each day, but now he lingered longer, finding excuses to stay and talk. On Sundays, Anna returned to the ranch, and gradually it began to feel like her home too. She taught Jamie his lessons at the kitchen table while Colton did paperwork, the three of them existing in companionable silence broken by occasional laughter or conversation. The town noticed, of course. Grass Valley was too small for anything to remain private. Some of the women sniffed disapprovingly at the schoolteacher keeping company with a cowboy, suggesting she should set her sights on someone more refined, like the banker's son or the new minister. But Mrs. Patterson, whose opinion carried weight, declared that Colton Stone was a good man, and Anna Voss was lucky to have caught his eye, and that was that. In November, a cold snap hit the foothills, bringing early snow that dusted the mountains white. Anna woke one morning to find the schoolhouse cottage frigid, her breath misting in the air. The pot-bellied stove had gone out during the night, and no matter how she fiddled with it, she could not get it to relight properly. She was still struggling with it, shivering in her coat, when Colton arrived with Jamie. He took one look at her blue-tinged lips and ordered Jamie to start the schoolhouse fire, then examined the stove in the cottage. Flue is blocked. Probably a bird's nest or soot buildup. I can fix it, but it is going to take a couple hours and you cannot stay here in the cold. I will manage, Anna protested. I have my coat. Anna, you are freezing. Jamie can watch the other students for a bit while I take you somewhere warm. Colton's tone brooked no argument. Come on. I am taking you to the hotel. They have a sitting room with a good fire. He practically carried her to the hotel, bundling her into a chair by the roaring fireplace and ordering hot coffee from the startled clerk. Anna wanted to protest the expense, the fuss, but she was too cold to argue effectively. Colton wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and crouched in front of her, chafing her icy hands between his own. You scared me, he admitted quietly, finding you like that, so cold. I am fine, Anna said, but her teeth were chattering. You are not fine. You are stubborn and independent, and I love those things about you, but Anna, you do not have to do everything alone anymore. Colton's gray eyes were intense, almost fierce. I am here. Let me take care of you. The words hit Anna like a physical blow, bringing sudden tears to her eyes. Since her family's death, she had been alone, carrying every burden by herself, believing she had to be strong enough to handle anything. The idea that someone wanted to share that load, that she did not have to face everything solitary and afraid, was almost overwhelming. I do not know how to not do it alone, she whispered. Colton pulled her into his arms, blanket and all, holding her while she cried. You are learning. We are both learning. I spent 2 years thinking I had to handle everything myself after my brother died, that asking for help made me weak. But Anna, there is no weakness in accepting care from people who love you. She pulled back to stare at him. Love, he met her gaze steadily, no hesitation. Yes, love. I love you, Anna Voss. I know it is too soon and I probably should not say it yet, but it is true. I love you and I want to take care of you and I want you to let me. I love you too. The words felt like freedom, like stepping into sunlight after months of darkness. I think I have loved you since the first day you came to the schoolhouse, so worried about Jamie. Colton kissed her then, there in the hotel sitting room where anyone might see, and Anna did not care. She kissed him back with all the love and longing and hope she had been holding inside, letting him feel how much he meant to her. When he finally pulled back, both of them were breathing hard and his eyes had darkened to stormy gray. Marry me. Anna's heart stopped. What? Marry me, Colton repeated. I know it is fast, and I know I should probably court you proper for a year or more, but Anna, I am not a patient man when it comes to things that matter. I love you, and I want you to be my wife. I want to wake up with you every morning and go to sleep with you every night. I want to give you a real home, a family. I want to grow old with you. He paused, vulnerability flickering across his face. If you will have me. Anna's vision blurred with happy tears. Yes. Yes, of course I will marry you. The joy that lit Colton's face was incandescent. He stood, pulling her up with him, and spun her around right there in the hotel sitting room, both of them laughing like children. The desk clerk watched with a scandalized expression, but neither of them noticed or cared. They were married 3 weeks later, on a cold December morning at the small church in town. Anna wore a dress borrowed from Mrs. Patterson, cream-colored silk that had been the older woman's wedding gown. Colton wore his best suit, clearly uncomfortable in the formal clothes but heartbreakingly handsome. Jamie stood up as witness, so proud and excited he could barely stand still. Most of the town attended, curiosity if not always goodwill bringing them out. The minister was brief and to the point, speaking about love and faithfulness and building a life together. When Colton slipped a simple gold band onto Anna's finger, his hands were shaking. When Anna said her vows, her voice was strong and clear, no doubt or hesitation. And when the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Colton kissed her with such tenderness that Anna felt tears slip down her cheeks. They held a small reception at Mrs. Patterson's boarding house, with coffee and cake and fiddle music. Anna danced with Colton, with Jamie, even with Mayor Simmons, who gruffly congratulated her and said the town was lucky to keep her as a teacher, even if she was now a married woman. In California, married women were allowed to teach if they chose, a progressive policy that Anna was deeply grateful for. She loved her students and did not want to give them up. As evening fell, Colton drove Anna and Jamie back to the ranch, now Anna's home. Someone, probably Mrs. Patterson, had left a basket of food on the porch, and the house was warm from a fire that had been laid earlier. Jamie, exhausted from excitement, went to bed willingly, leaving Anna and Colton alone in the kitchen. "I cannot quite believe this is real," Anna admitted, looking down at her wedding ring. "A few months ago I was alone and terrified, and now I have a husband and a home and a child to care for." "Not just a child," Colton said softly, coming to stand behind her, his arms wrapping around her waist. "A family. We are a family now." Anna leaned back against him, feeling his strength and warmth, the steady beat of his heart. "I was so afraid when I came here. I thought I had lost everything, that I would never feel safe or loved again. And then you were there, and you were so kind, and I started to hope again." Colton turned her in his arms, tipping her face up to his. "You saved me as much as I saved you. I was just going through the motions, doing what needed to be done but not really living. You reminded me what it felt like to want something, to look forward to the future. You made me believe in good things again." He kissed her slowly, deeply, and Anna melted into him, finally letting go of the last of her fear and grief. This was her husband, her partner, the man who had seen her at her most vulnerable and chosen to love her anyway. They moved to the bedroom together, and in the warmth of Colton's arms, Anna discovered that joy could exist after tragedy, that love could bloom even in the hardest soil. The winter passed in a haze of contentment. Anna continued teaching, now riding to school each morning with Colton and Jamie rather than living at the cottage. She moved her few belongings into Colton's house and set about making it truly a home, adding curtains and rugs and small touches that softened the masculine roughness. She cooked dinners that the three of them shared at the scarred table, and she helped Jamie with his studies in the evenings while Colton mended tack or did paperwork. In the spring, when the hills exploded with wildflowers and the cattle grew fat on new grass, Anna discovered she was pregnant. She told Colton one evening after Jamie had gone to bed, watching nervously for his reaction. His face went through a series of expressions, shock and disbelief, and then pure, incandescent joy. "A baby." He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she squeaked in protest. "We are going to have a baby in October, I think." Anna laughed shakily. "Are you happy?" "Happy." Colton pulled back to look at her, and his eyes were wet. "Anna, I am beyond happy. I am blessed. You have given me so much already, and now this." He laid a hand gently on her still flat stomach. "A child of our own." Jamie was equally thrilled when they told him, immediately announcing that he would teach his new sibling everything important: how to ride, how to rope, how to fish in the creek. Colton laughed and agreed that those were indeed critical skills, while Anna privately made plans to also teach reading and manners and kindness. The pregnancy was not easy. Anna suffered from terrible nausea in the early months, and later from backaches and swollen ankles. But Colton was endlessly patient, rubbing her feet, holding her hair when she was sick, taking over more of the household chores without complaint. He fussed over her like a mother hen, to the point where Anna had to gently remind him that women had been having babies since the dawn of time, and she was not made of glass. "I know that," Colton grumbled, "but you are my wife, and I am allowed to worry." In late September, Anna had to stop teaching, too ungainly and uncomfortable to manage the walk to school and long days on her feet. Mayor Simmons hired a temporary teacher to finish the term, a young man fresh from San Francisco, and Anna spent her days preparing the house for the baby's arrival. Colton built a cradle from oak, sanding it until the wood was satin smooth. Jamie helped paint it, his tongue caught between his teeth in concentration. The baby came on a cool October evening, 2 weeks before Anna's due date. The labor was long and difficult, lasting through the night and into the next morning. Colton paced the house like a caged animal, terrified by Anna's cries, until the midwife threatened to throw him out. Jamie stayed with Mrs. Patterson in town, spared the ordeal. When the baby finally arrived, a squalling red-faced boy with dark hair and his father's gray eyes, Colton wept openly. He held his son with shaking hands, staring down at the tiny face in wonder, and Anna felt her heart swell so large she thought it might burst. "He is perfect," Colton whispered. "Anna, he is perfect." They named him Thomas after Colton's brother, and he was indeed perfect, healthy and strong-lunged. Jamie was smitten with his new brother, hovering protectively and insisting on helping with everything. The house filled with the sounds of a baby's cries and laughter, and Anna thought she had never been happier, but life on a cattle ranch was never entirely peaceful. In the spring, when Thomas was 6 months old and starting to smile and grab at everything, a severe drought hit the region. The grass withered and turned brown, streams dried to trickles, and the cattle grew gaunt. Colton spent long days searching for water and adequate grazing, coming home exhausted and worried. Other ranchers were selling off their herds at a loss, unable to sustain them. "We will make it through," Anna told him one night as they lay in bed, Thomas asleep in his cradle nearby. "We have weathered hard things before." "I know." But Colton's voice was strained. "I just worry. I have a family now, responsibilities. If we lose the ranch, we will not lose the ranch." Anna said it with fierce certainty. "And even if we did, we would survive. We have each other. That is what matters." Colton pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. "How did I get so lucky, finding you?" "Faith," Anna said softly. "I came here with only faith that things would work out. And you rewarded that faith with your faithfulness, your steadiness. We will get through this the same way." The drought broke in June with a week of steady rain that turned the hills green again. The cattle recovered, and with them, the ranch's fortunes. That summer was one of plenty, the grass tall and rich, the calves thriving. Colton sold his steers at a good price and paid off the debts accumulated during the drought. The ranch was secure again. Jamie turned 12 that summer, shooting up like a weed and starting to lose his childish roundness. He was becoming a skilled horseman and cattleman, soaking up everything Colton taught him. He was also proving to be an excellent big brother, patient with Thomas's grabbing hands and delighted by every new milestone. In the fall, Anna discovered she was pregnant again. This pregnancy was easier than the first, and in May, she delivered a healthy daughter with her mother's chestnut hair and Colton's gray eyes. They named her Caroline after Anna's mother, and she was a placid, contented baby who rarely cried. The years passed in a rhythm of seasons and cycles. Anna returned to teaching part-time when Caroline was weaned, hiring a young woman from town to watch the children on the days she taught. Colton's ranch continued to prosper, allowing him to expand his herd and buy additional grazing land. Jamie grew into a responsible young man, taking on more of the ranch work and showing a natural aptitude for cattle management. Thomas was a whirlwind of energy, always into something, keeping Anna on her toes. Caroline was quieter, more thoughtful, with a talent for drawing and a love of books. When she turned 5, Anna began teaching her to raid, and the little girl took to it with enthusiasm. One evening in early spring, when Anna and Colton had been married nearly 8 years, they sat together on the porch watching the sunset. The children were inside, Jamie helping Thomas with arithmetic while Caroline drew pictures. The ranch spread around them, peaceful and prosperous, the fruit of years of hard work and dedication. "You ever think about that first day?" Colton asked, his arm around Anna's shoulders. "When you arrived in Grass Valley, sometimes." Anna leaned against him, comfortable and content. "I was so frightened, so alone, I had no idea what would happen to me. You were brave." Colton kissed the top of her head. "Coming west by yourself, starting over with nothing." "I had faith," Anna corrected gently. "Not much else, but I had faith that somehow things would work out, that there was a reason I survived when my family did not, that my life still had purpose." "And I had faithfulness," Colton said softly. "I made a promise to myself after my brother died, that I would do right by Jamie, that I would keep the ranch going, that I would honor my family by living well. And then you arrived, and suddenly, I had someone else to be faithful to. Someone who needed me as much as I needed her." Anna turned to look at him, this man who had become her entire world. His face had weathered over the years, lines deepening around his eyes and mouth, but to her, he had never been more handsome. "You kept your promise. You have been faithful to me, to Jamie, to our children. You have given me a home and a family and a life I never dared hope for." "We gave that to each other," Colton said. He cupped her face in his calloused hand, thumb stroking her cheekbone. "I love you, Anna Stone. I loved you the day I married you, and I love you more with every year that passes." "I love you too." Anna's eyes stung with happy tears, more than I have words to say. They kissed as the sun sank below the mountains, painting the sky in shades of fire. Inside, their children's laughter rang out, bright and joyful. Anna thought about the frightened young woman who had climbed down from a dusty stagecoach 8 years ago, alone and desperate, with nothing but a worn letter and fragile hope. That woman had taken a leap of faith, trusting that somehow, somewhere, there was a place for her. And Colton had been there, steady and true, rewarding her faith with his own faithfulness. He had given her not just love but a home, a family, a future bright with promise. Together, they had built something beautiful from the ashes of their separate griefs, something strong and enduring. The years continued to unfold with their mixture of joy and challenge. Jamie turned 18, and Colton officially made him a full partner in the ranch, recognizing the young man's hard work and skill. Jamie had grown into a fine man, tall and capable, with his uncle's quiet strength and his late mother's gentle humor. He started courting the daughter of a neighboring rancher, a sensible girl named Mary who ran her father's household with capable efficiency. Thomas, at 8, was all boundless energy and curiosity. He loved the ranch and spent every free moment following Colton and Jamie around, learning everything he could about cattle and horses. But he also showed an unexpected talent for music, and Anna scraped together money to buy a battered fiddle from a traveling peddler. Thomas took to it naturally, filling the house with lively tunes in the evenings. Caroline, at 6, was proving to be intensely bright and hungry for knowledge. She exhausted the simple readers Anna had and begged for more books. Anna wrote to a bookseller in San Francisco, carefully spending some of her teaching money on primers and storybooks. Caroline devoured them all and began writing her own stories, filling slates and precious paper with elaborate tales of adventure and romance. In the spring of their 9th year of marriage, Anna discovered she was pregnant again. This pregnancy was harder than the previous ones, leaving her exhausted and often ill. Colton worried constantly, hiring additional help for the household so Anna could rest. The baby, another boy they named Matthew, arrived a month early, small and frail, struggling to breathe. For 3 days, Anna and Colton took turns holding the tiny infant, willing him to live. The doctor was grim-faced, preparing them for the worst. But Matthew was a fighter, and slowly, painfully, he grew stronger. By the end of the first week, he was nursing well, and by the end of the month, the doctor declared him out of danger. "He is a stone," Colton said, watching his youngest son sleep in Anna's arms. "We are tough to kill." Anna laughed shakily, still exhausted from the ordeal. "He scared me." "I thought," her voice broke. "I know." Colton gathered both her and the baby into his arms. "I thought so too, but he is all right. We are all right." Matthew thrived after his rocky start, growing into a cheerful, easygoing baby who rarely fussed. Anna recovered her strength slowly, and by summer, she was back to her usual routine of teaching and managing the household. The ranch continued to prosper, and Colton's reputation as an honest, skilled cattleman spread throughout the region. In the fall, Jamie married Mary in a simple ceremony at the ranch. Colton deeded them a portion of the land, enough to build their own house and start their own herd. Jamie was 20 by then, more than ready to begin his own life, though he and Mary built their house close enough that the families could easily visit. Anna stood beside Colton at the wedding, watching Jamie pledge his love to his new bride, and felt a bittersweet mixture of joy and nostalgia. The little boy Colton had brought to her schoolhouse so many years ago was now a man, starting his own family. Time moved so quickly, each season blending into the next, children growing and changing before her eyes. "Are you sad?" Colton murmured, seeing her expression. "A little," Anna admitted. "But mostly happy. He is a good man because you raised him well." "We raised him well," Colton corrected. "You have been as much his mother as I have been his father, maybe more." Anna squeezed his hand, grateful for the acknowledgement. She had never tried to replace Jamie's mother, but she had loved him as her own, and he had responded with affection and respect. Their relationship was one of the things she was most proud of in her life. The following years brought their own joys and sorrows. Thomas continued to develop his musical talent, eventually playing at local dances and celebrations. Caroline learned to read at a level far beyond her age and announced her intention to become a teacher like her mother. Matthew grew into a sweet-natured child who loved animals and spent hours following Colton around, asking endless questions. Jamie and Mary welcomed their first child, a daughter they named Anna, which made Anna Voss Stone cry happy tears. Being a grandmother was a joy she had not anticipated, holding the tiny baby and seeing her own features reflected in miniature. Colton was equally besotted, carving toys and doting on his granddaughter shamelessly. In their 15th year of marriage, when Anna was 37 and Colton 42, they faced their greatest challenge yet. A harsh winter brought heavy snows that isolated the ranch for weeks. When the thaw finally came in March, it brought devastating floods that swept away fences, drowned cattle, and turned the valley into a muddy morass. The financial losses were staggering. Colton spent days assessing the damage, his face grim. They had lost nearly a third of their herd, and the repairs would cost more money than they had readily available. For the first time in years, the ranch's survival was in question. "We will get through this," Anna said firmly when Colton told her the extent of the losses. "We have done it before." "Anna, it is bad this time, really bad." Colton's voice was rough with exhaustion and worry. "I might have to sell off land, maybe even the portion I gave Jamie. Then we will do what we must." Anna took his hands, holding them tightly. "Land can be bought again. What matters is keeping the family together. We will work harder, spend less, rebuild. But Colton, we will do it together. You are not alone in this." They gathered the family that evening, including Jamie and Mary, and laid out the situation honestly. Jamie immediately offered to return his land to be sold, but Colton refused. Instead, they devised a plan. Jamie would help work the main ranch in addition to his own small herd foregoing pay. Anna would take on additional students for private tutoring. Thomas, at 13, would take on more responsibility. Even Caroline, at 11, volunteered to help with household chores to reduce the need for hired help. It was a hard year. They worked dawn to dusk, every member of the family contributing. Anna took in sewing in addition to tutoring, staying up late by lamplight to finish alterations and mending. Colton and Jamie worked themselves to exhaustion rebuilding fences and tending the reduced herd. They ate simply, wasted nothing, and watched every penny. But slowly, painfully, they clawed their way back to stability. The remaining cattle were healthy and the calves that spring were strong. Colton sold them at a decent price and paid off the most pressing debts. By the following winter they were not prosperous, but they were secure. The ranch had survived. "I could not have done this without you," Colton told Anna one night as they lay in bed, both too tired to do more than hold each other. "Without all of you, this family saved the ranch. The family you built," Anna said softly. "You took in a frightened woman with nothing and gave her everything. You raised Jamie into a man who would sacrifice for family. You taught our children the value of hard work and loyalty. This is your legacy, Colton, and I am so proud to share it with you." Colton's arms tightened around her. "You are my legacy. You and the children and everything we built together. The ranch is just land and cattle, but this family, this love, this is what matters." The years continued their steady march. Thomas left at 18 to study music in San Francisco, though he returned frequently to visit. Caroline entered the teaching college in Sacramento, determined to follow her mother's path. Matthew showed early signs of following in Colton's footsteps, with a natural talent for working with horses. Jamie and Mary had 3 more children, giving Anna and Colton a house full of grandchildren to spoil. The ranch prospered again as the region recovered from the floods. Colton was now recognized as one of the most respected cattlemen in the county, and his advice was frequently sought by younger ranchers. Anna continued teaching part-time, now mostly older students preparing for higher education. She took deep satisfaction in sending young men and women off to colleges and universities, knowing she had helped prepare them. The community respected her, and several of her former students returned to Grass Valley to start their own families, often seeking her counsel. On their 20th wedding anniversary, Colton surprised Anna with a trip to San Francisco. They left the children with Jamie and Mary and took the train west, spending a week in the bustling city. Anna had never seen anything like it, the crowds and noise and electric lights. But what she loved most was having Colton to herself, walking along the waterfront, dining in restaurants, attending a concert where they heard Thomas perform with an orchestra. "Was it everything you thought it would be?" Colton asked on their last evening as they stood on their hotel balcony overlooking the bay. "It was wonderful," Anna said honestly, "but I am ready to go home." Colton smiled, that slow, warm smile that still made her heart skip. Me too. This is exciting, but home is where our life is. Where our family is. They returned to Grass Valley to find the ranch running smoothly and the children healthy and happy. Life settled back into its comfortable rhythm. Anna was 42 now, her chestnut hair threaded with silver, her face marked by sun and smiles. Colton was 47, his dark hair mostly gray, his body lean and strong from decades of physical labor. But when he looked at Anna, his eyes still held the same warmth and love they had 20 years ago. Caroline returned from teaching college and took a position at the school in town, working alongside her mother. The two of them would ride to town together, discussing lesson plans and students, and Anna felt blessed to share this work with her daughter. Caroline was a natural teacher, patient and encouraging, and Anna knew the community would be in good hands when she finally retired. Matthew, at 16, was already as tall as his father and showing Colton's quiet competence with livestock. He had a gift for gentling difficult horses, approaching them with patience and respect. Several neighbors had already approached Colton about having Matthew train their animals. Thomas visited twice a year, bringing news of the city and stories of his musical adventures. He had joined a theater orchestra and was making a decent living, though not a lavish one. But he was happy, pursuing his passion, and that was what mattered to Anna and Colton. Jamie's oldest daughter, young Anna, turned out to have inherited Caroline's academic bent and asked her grandmother to tutor her for the teaching college entrance exams. Anna was delighted, spending long evenings working with her granddaughter, seeing her own love of learning reflected in the girl's eager eyes. In the spring of their 23rd year of marriage, Grass Valley celebrated its 50th anniversary of incorporation. The town threw a grand celebration, and as one of the longest-serving teachers, Anna was asked to speak at the ceremony. She stood before the assembled crowd, looking out at faces she had taught, families she had known for decades, and felt a swell of emotion. "When I arrived in Grass Valley 23 years ago," she began, her voice clear and steady, "I had nothing but a carpetbag and hope. I had lost everything and everyone I loved, and I came here seeking family that I discovered had passed away. I should have been alone and lost." She paused, finding Colton in the crowd, his eyes locked on hers. "But this town gave me a chance. You hired me to teach your children. You accepted me into your community. And most importantly, I found love and family here in the form of my husband and our children." She went on to talk about the importance of community, of people coming together to support one another through hard times and celebrate the good times. But her eyes kept returning to Colton, standing tall and proud with their children around him, the family they had built together against all odds. After the ceremony, people crowded around to congratulate her, to share memories of her teaching or thank her for educating their children. Anna accepted the praise graciously, but what she treasured most was the moment when Colton pulled her aside and kissed her soundly, not caring who saw. "I am proud of you," he said simply. "You have given so much to this town, to our family. You are the best thing that ever happened to me, Anna Stone." "We are the best thing that happened to each other," Anna corrected, her eyes shining. "I came here with only faith, not knowing what would happen. And you rewarded that faith with your faithfulness, your steadiness, your love. Everything good in my life came from that." "Everything good in my life came from you," Colton countered. "You made me believe in new beginnings. You gave me a family when I thought I had lost mine. You made this house a home." They stood there in the middle of the celebration, holding each other, and Anna felt the rightness of it all. The journey that had begun in desperation and fear had led her here, to this moment, to this man, to this life. She had taken a leap of faith when she boarded that stagecoach, trusting that somehow things would work out. And Colton had been there to catch her, to hold her, to build a life with her. The years continued to be kind to them. Anna retired from teaching at 50, handing her students over to Caroline with complete confidence. She spent her retirement years helping with the grandchildren, of whom there were now 9, maintaining an extensive garden and writing long letters to Thomas in San Francisco. Colton stepped back from the daily operation of the ranch at 55, turning most of the work over to Matthew, who had grown into a skilled and responsible rancher. But Colton still rode out most mornings, checking on the cattle and the land he loved, unable to completely let go. They celebrated their 30th wedding anniversary with all their children and grandchildren gathered at the ranch. It was a warm summer evening, the table laden with food, laughter ringing out across the valley. Anna looked around at the faces she loved, at the family that had grown from just her and Colton and Jamie into this sprawling, boisterous group, and felt her heart swell with gratitude. "What are you thinking?" Colton asked, coming to stand beside her as the sun set in a blaze of gold and crimson. "I am thinking about faith," Anna said softly. "About how I came here with nothing but faith that God had a plan for me, and look what that faith became." She gestured to their family, the ranch, the life they had built. "You rewarded my faith with your faithfulness. You showed up every single day, steady and true, and built this with me. I could not have asked for a better partner, a better husband, a better father for our children." Colton pulled her close, and they stood together watching their family, watching the sunset, completely content. They had weathered droughts and floods, financial hardship and personal loss, the challenges of raising children and building a life on the frontier. But they had faced it all together, their love growing deeper and stronger with each passing year. "I would do it all again," Colton said quietly. "Every hard moment, every struggle, just to end up here with you." "So would I," Anna whispered. "So would I." As darkness fell and stars began to appear in the vast California sky, the family gathered on the porch. Thomas had brought his fiddle and began to play, and soon others joined in with singing and clapping. Anna and Colton danced slowly in the lamplight, their bodies knowing each other's movements after 3 decades together. The years had changed them, added silver to their hair and lines to their faces, but the love between them burned as bright as ever. Anna looked up at her husband, this cowboy who had saved her when she was lost, and saw her whole world reflected in his eyes. Colton looked down at his wife, this brave woman who had arrived with nothing and given him everything, and knew he was the luckiest man alive. They had taken a chance on each other, 2 lonely people finding unexpected love in a dusty California town. Anna had arrived with only faith, trusting in a future she could not see. And Colton had rewarded that faith with his own faithfulness, his steady presence, his unwavering love. Together, they had built not just a ranch or a family, but a legacy of devotion that would endure for generations. As the music played and their family celebrated around them, Anna and Colton held each other close, grateful for every moment, every memory, every challenge overcome. Their love story had begun in loss and loneliness, but it had bloomed into something beautiful and enduring, a testament to the power of faith rewarded by faithfulness, of 2 hearts finding home in each other. And in the warm California night, surrounded by the family they had created and the life they had built together, Anna Voss Stone and Colton Stone knew they had found exactly what they had been searching for. A love that would last forever, a partnership that would endure through anything, and a happiness that came from choosing each other every single day for 30 years and counting. The ranch would continue, passed down through the generations. The children and grandchildren would tell stories of Anna and Colton, of how their love had started their family, how their faith and faithfulness had built something lasting. And long after they were gone, their legacy would remain, a testament to what could be built when two people committed to loving each other through everything life brought their way. But that was the future. In this moment, Anna and Colton simply danced, held each other, and treasured the life they had created together, one day at a time, one act of faithfulness after another, building something beautiful from the ashes of loss. Anna had arrived in Grass Valley with only faith, and Colton Stone had rewarded that faith with a lifetime of faithfulness, of showing up, of choosing love again and again. And together, they had created not just a family or a home, but a love story that would endure for all time.